So I requested I have. See, there's a comment.
Yeah.
So.
But maybe he means he's got it.
Yes.
And he's looked it over.
That's right.
And that's where he put the money.
And out of all the monies I earned
put it
over
there.
this period of time, I went into these ventures.
That's it. It's very clear.
Over this period of time, I went into these ventures.
Right.
That was good, Mary.
Terrific. Yeah, Al, that makes sense.
Yeah. Thanks for clearing that up.
Makes sense.
For 2 months, I've been trying to figure it out. Yes. Understand it.
By the time we settled on this project, we turned it into our 70s. I mean, we have another kind of perception of life, particularly of that world, the milieu in which I have dabbled in a number of times, from Mean Streets to Goodfellas to Casino. So we're kind of associated with that, obviously. And we all, in playing out these scenes, playing out this picture, a very internal, very intimate film it became. It's about the relationship of loyalty, love, trust, and then ultimately betrayal. And interestingly enough, what this character, Frank, finding himself in that extended family, they actually love each other. It's
working on another movie, The Winter of Frankie Machine, and then I read this book, and I said, well, Marty, you got to read this, because I think this is what we should be doing. I had been a homicide investigator and a criminal prosecutor, homicide prosecutor, Chief Deputy Attorney General of the state of Delaware. And in 1988, Frank took me in my office to lunch at a mafia hangout called Vincenti's Restaurant. After the lunch, he took me aside and said, you know, I read your book, The Right to Remain Silent. I read it in prison. I'm tired of being written about in all the books on Hoffa. There were 6 of them at the time, all speculating about Hoffa's disappearance. Nobody had any proof. And he said, I want to tell my story. And so I met with him.
And I realized that was the connection. And there was gold, in a way. You know, to convince anybody of anything, we know each other kind of so well that we don't have to say anything at that point. I know if we could tap into that character that way, based on the structure of the story and the situation these people found themselves in, I know I could go there because it's genuine and it's real. And however it turns out, it needs to be, has to be done.
It might have been a year later or even later than that, Marty, we had a reading. We set up a reading at Tribeca with a couple of cameras with me, Joe, Al, Bobby Cannavale, Paul Herman, some other actors. Were in as many of the chosen cast members that we could get.
And it was clearly a Steve Zaillian script, which was quite good. And there were about 50 people there. And we read for them, and it was effective.
We read it cold, and Stephanie Kurtzuba read all the women's roles, and it was evident right away that it was very special.
It played like gangbusters, and I think everybody at that point said, okay, we're going to make this movie.
I needed to finish Wolf of Wall Street and also Silence. I wanted to do Silence. And so after Silence, we pulled it together. So then you take a beat and move in, take the 22.
Okay.
And then the rest is
That's
fine.
it. So, but there's, what are these?
There's 3.
22
Yeah,
automatic.
22. So
Take them all out.
Take them all out. So take them like this.
The last picture that I did with Robert De Niro was in '95. It was Casino. It was like 22 years since we had worked together. Now, the reason why I go there is because when we kind of started out, we know basically Bob and I kind of know each other from the age of 16. So he's very aware of the world I came from and I grew up in. I remember him. We lost track of each other for a while. Brian De Palma put us back together again, and then went into Mean Streets. And so we wound up working together over a period of time. And the reason being, of course, we found that we were comfortable with each other and trusted each other. Went through a lot of issues over the years. The real push, I think, was King of Comedy. It was a very different kind of thing. Then we did Cape Fear and then Casino.
They have a history of working
on characters that have these real moral complex dilemmas. This was something Bob felt, and especially with the mystery with Jimmy Hoffa, Bob felt, the time to do it was now.
I did speak to Marty about who this guy was, and he wasn't a mobster, but he was working for them, and, he probably a little bit thought he was.
Hi, Frank.
Hey.
What can I get for you? Do I believe that she knew everything about Frank's life? Absolutely not. But I also know that there's a truth to most relationships where there's a tacit understanding that we don't ask the things that we don't want to know.
They had been to a nightclub early in the evening.
What's really interesting about Peggy is that she sees what nobody else is kind of willing to acknowledge is happening. She sees.
If I knew of him, because he was well known. As a matter of fact, he was like a household name. Marty Scorsese gave me, tips in terms of, and books and stuff, which I read. And the good news about today's data on everybody is they have data on everybody, so you can find out a lot of visual stuff, things you could see. Like in the old days when I did Serpico, I had the actual Frank Serpico. Kevorkian, who I later came to really know and love, as I did with Frank Serpico, they were people I really got to know and like. Jimmy, I of course would have been all over him if he were alive.
Al has headphones on in every scene, and I asked him, because I do that now, sometimes when I have a pretty heavy scene, I try to put some music on before. He had all different speeches of Hoffa. He was listening to Jimmy Hoffa speak right up to action.
I never worked with Al before. We tried over the years, but never quite got together on a project. And so it was a real between man between Joe and Al.
Bringing Joe in somehow emotionally brought us all back together in a kind of a very warm way. And I think Joe, in a way, was just kind of the centerpiece of it.
It's fun to hear Joe talk about Marty, about how great he is. I remember after one, he came in and gave us some direction, and Joe looked at me and says, "It's genius. It's a genius."
That's great. Great. You got it, sister. Great. Okay. Good. Okay.
Marty, he sets the stage in a way. He gives you the ambiance. To me, it was like if I were a tightrope walker and I was walking up on a wire with no net, and Marty is the net. So you feel you can go and you can take a chance, so to speak, because you have somebody with a great sensibility and understanding of things who will protect you in a way, or protect the performance, really.
He's incredibly patient. He's incredibly giving. He's willing to try almost any idea that any actor has.
I ended up splitting this. Is that blocking okay for you, that what ended up happening here?
I think it's good.
He makes every performance stand out and be specific.
When he directs you, it's about conflict, whether it's inner conflict or conflict that's presenting itself in the scene. So he would say to me, you're enjoying your steak. Who is this guy? Why is he coming over here? Why is he bothering you? You having your steak? Why is he asking you about steak?
You like steak?
I go, I don't know. I think he's just asking me if I like steak. He goes, yeah, but what does he mean by that? And so that's sort of Marty's way of getting the scene to really crackle and be alive.
I'm trying to get everything. It's all about the conversations on the side and you looking.
Marty is so fleet-footed around set. He moves quickly, he thinks quickly. Things move at the speed of Marty.
It'd be nice if we keep moving.
He so needs to do what he does that it inspires everyone around him to want to raise their game, to meet him there.
Marty seems to be as committed now as he was as a young filmmaker making Mean Streets or New York, or Taxi Driver, any other. He has the same passion and the same energy. There's not many directors half his age that would have the energy to do it.
The film takes place from 1949 to 2000, and it goes back and forth in time continuously. Obviously, the first thing you would think of is who would play these characters younger. And when I looked at the script, it turned out that it means I make half the film with Bob. Why do it? We wanted to work together and see if we can find anything new, or just find the comfort of our stage in life. So why would you have to start all over with somebody new and explain it to them? I was shooting Silence in Taiwan, and Pablo, violin, came up to me and said I could do it. I think I could make them look younger. And I said to him, Pablo, I said, the only thing is, I can't have Bob De Niro and Al Pacino and Pesci talking to each other with golf balls on their faces. It's not going to work. They're not going to, it's going to be in the way. They're not even going to get to the set. It's not going to work.
I read the script overnight, and in the morning I talked to him. I said, I'm in. Let's do a test with Robert De Niro, and let's make him look 30 years younger. Maybe we'll take a scene from Goodfellas, and then we'll do a test, and we'll make him look just like he did in Goodfellas. We did the test in 2015, and it took about 8 weeks for us to develop some kind of technology, kind of band-aided technology, so that we could prove that the concept would work.
And when we saw it, you know, it was me, Thelma, Marty, Jane, and Bob, and, you know, after seeing the test, we were like, this is going to be a home run.
You review all this stuff.
We developed this brand new technology, which is markerless. So the actor does not have to wear a helmet or any kind of marks. The camera is basically surrounded by two what we call witness cameras, which are infrared cameras. And the three cameras, the center camera, which is the director camera, and the left and right witness cameras, capture the performance that is based on lighting. We did a lot of research into infrared technology and also infrared makeup. There is actually 4 markers that we're putting onto surfaces in the face that don't move, just for rigid tracking. But those markers are not seen by the center camera. They're only infrared.
It wasn't distracting at all, and things on the clothes, kind of these little reflector type things, they put them around, but they didn't bother me. I don't think it bothered any of us.
We ended up calling this camera rig the three-headed monster, or Hydra, because they all had to be attached and moving in the same exact manner. The idea behind that was to get information for visual effects of volume, depth, etc. From a camera standpoint, we had to figure out how to make a rig with 3 cameras that you could operate on either a remote head or a Steadicam and make it lightweight enough that it could function.
I wanted often to have 2 cameras shooting, but part of this new CGI technique involved 3 lenses on each camera, which was quite a mass of equipment and people on the set and on location. But we can actually shoot in tight rooms and small locations with that camera.
Every dialogue scene you see in the film was shot with 2 cameras simultaneously at least, filming one actor and then the other. But also, when you have 2 angles, you have 6 cameras. So when you have 3 angles, you have 9 cameras, you know, and each camera with a camera crew.
It did involve a slightly more stately pace of production, more people on crew, but the fact that we were doing something special made it very exciting, and everybody was with it.
One thing that was very important to me was that Marty would not feel restricted in any way in the way he shot this film because of the technology. That was one of my requirements to Pablo, was like, listen, I understand the complication of this technology and how important it is to the movie, but I need to be able to light it like I would light any movie, you know, and be able to be free. And so I think we achieved that.
The sky is a kind of a blue, which a little bit of touch of lavender, and then a kind of gray, then a slate gray. All these things were sort of like a impressionist painting is what I wanted to achieve.
The movie plays with time, not only passage of time, but back and forth. So I thought that visually it would be important to be able to have a clue or feel a clue as to, you know, where you are when you cut into a different part. And so I did a lot of research into, you know, in the 50s, what kind of film emulsions existed for photography, 60s, 70s, etc. So we ended up utilizing an emulation of Kodachrome for the 50s, Ektachrome for the 60s and part of the 70s. And then I shifted to a different look that's more of a filmic process that's called ENR, that is for film prints.
See that the air registers like along the ceiling line. We had them sort of spray all this like stuff on it and then blow dust on it, so it had that look.
Let me give McGee the phone, okay? You take care of yourself.
Bobby Cannavale, he says, put McGee on the phone now. And he was surprised at the weight of the phone. And I realized everybody's so young, I didn't understand. Those were the phones. Phones were heavy. And the ring on a phone was loud, loud and long. A phone call was an important thing. A phone call was a statement.
Remember that phone, having to pick up that phone. That phone's like 20 pounds.
We actually got to make it and do it in the way that we wanted to make it. And Marty got to do everything that he wanted to do. And we couldn't ask for anything more. It was no more complicated than that.